What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Howard Bender and Craig Mish for Wager Alarm. It is Saturday night. And it's time to do our picks for the Westgate SuperContest. Craig, been a wacky week in the NFL. Pretty much everybody's got the COVID now all of a sudden. And there are a lot of people sitting out tonight. Kind of makes our picks a little bit on the easier side, although we're not cashing this year, so it seems to be an exercise in futility for me.
Well, I mean, I do like to put our record, in the books for the last 3 years at our percentage, and certainly I'd like to finish strong here so we can get close to where we were a year ago. I believe we were 6 or 7 games over 500 last year, so if we go 5-0, we'll be right there this year too. But it does seem as though there is some value on a few of the picks this week because of teams playing hard and not. And there's actually like 6 picks that I like a lot this week. So I'm feeling really good about them. And I think that I would guess that we're going to finish very strong. The last couple of years, we've been either 5-0 or 4-1 the last 2 years. And a lot of other people will too, because lines have changed significantly since Wednesday.
Yeah, that they definitely have. So we're going to go down the order of it is on the Westgate card, not necessarily in the order of times for each games, but we'll give you our picks. Craig will give you his number 6 pick there as well, and we'll kind of see where we end up. So first pick here, we're going to be taking the Cleveland Browns. There's no movement on this line.
No.
Browns favored by 9. Steelers sitting everybody. Browns need this win in order to get into the playoffs, and they need a convincing win out of this game for us. How are you feeling about it? I mean, listen, you know me. I've been a Browns fan all season long, been a huge supporter of their ground game. I think they can keep that motoring. What's your motivation here for laying 9?
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh is the one team that very early on in the week basically determined that they weren't going to play anyone, and there's really no mystery in it. So this was really easy for me on this one. Cleveland needs to win. I think that they'll end up winning big. I don't honestly know who's going to suit up for Pittsburgh. There are a couple of other teams that over the last 24 hours, we started to see this too, with players being downgraded to questionable or even doubtful. But in my mind, I do believe that Pittsburgh may surprise some people in the playoffs. Everyone is down on them, and when that happens, I usually like to go the other way. But for this particular week, with Rudolph playing, and I think no one on offense and no one on defense, and all practice squad players, not to mention Cleveland had a little bit of a COVID issue this week, I cannot imagine that Pittsburgh, Howard, is going to want to put their main players on the field with the Browns. No disrespect to the Browns, but want to even risk that knowing what they're up against next week. So not to mention there is the small possibility, if I'm not mistaken, that Cleveland could play Pittsburgh again. I don't expect Pittsburgh to show anything at all. I like Cleveland very big in this game.
Beautiful. Well, home game for the Browns also. They're going to, could end up with 11 wins on the season. Big surprise to a lot of people, and we'll see what happens. So there you go. Pick number 1. Pick number 2, we're going to the Dogs. We're going to the Panthers. 6.5-point underdog here against the Saints on the Westgate card. If you look at the regular line of the game, though, it's down to 6, but, Latavius Murray out with COVID, Kamara out with COVID, no Michael Thomas, no Traquan Smith. I mean, there's very little to look for this Saints offense. Now, the Saints are still in contention for the number 1 seed. They would have to win. Green Bay would have to lose. But I think what's most important here is I think the Saints have the division locked up already in the South, so no sense in risking any of these guys. Panthers, listen, they've had a decent offense throughout the year. It's their defense that's just been really piss poor.
Yeah, and look, the Saints and the Packers both play at 4:25 Eastern. We cannot assume that the Packers are going to win, but we also can project a little bit here. And if for some chance Green Bay is up big in the third quarter, New Orleans is going to pull everyone in this game. And that gives a backdoor open for the Carolina Panthers here. Line went down to 5.5, went back up to 6. You're right, they're missing a lot of offensive pieces. I definitely feel like the number 1 seed is important to them. But once they realize they can't get it, what do? They're going to sit players. And even if they only sit players in the fourth quarter, Howard, and let's say the Packers pull up big, I think Carolina has a chance to win the game outright. We see this so often in the NFL in Week 17 where the starters sit after the second half. So I think there's a chance of that happening for New Orleans, and I like the way Carolina's played all season long. They've been in every single game. They may not win, but give us 6 points here in this one. I believe we're getting 6.5, if I'm not mistaken, right?
6.5, absolutely.
Yeah,
Love getting
like
that hook. Love it. All right, another game where we still technically don't know yet. Bills Dolphins. You and I are going to go with the Dolphins here, getting 2.5. We've been waiting for the Bills to match the Steelers' move of sitting guys, because the Bills do have that numbers 2 seed locked up with a with a win, or if they lose and Pittsburgh loses, they still hold on to that. I think what we're looking at here is it's the same time as the Browns Steelers game. Is that once the Browns start going up big, I think all of a sudden McDermott pulls Josh Allen and the rest of the crew off the field. So Dolphins 2.5 here on the card. It's 1.5 right now on the looking over at the other line. So we're getting a point value here. I'll take it.
This is a very big surprise to me that McDermott's going to even think about playing any of his players. It's just, honestly, the risk, is it worth the reward? Miami's defense has been really good all season long. Yeah. And I understand if you want to get Josh Allen prepared and you want to put him in and let him hand off a couple times and have him throw a pass in the first quarter, I guess I could understand that. But I'm going to guess that we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to text me and say Miami's favored by 1 in this game, because I don't think that Allen is going to play a lot. And if he does, you're basically risking your coaching job if you're McDermott. It makes no sense whatsoever to play the guy. I'm sorry, it does not. Buffalo's played as good or better than anyone in the NFL over the past month. They have nothing to prove. I think Miami has a lot to prove in this game, and even with just Tua at quarterback this week, I feel confident that they'll be able to pull out a win. And as you said, all they really need to do is win by 3 at the end of the game. They've had that kind of luck factor going with them all season long. So I would expect a line flip by tomorrow morning. I think that the Dolphins will be favored probably by 1, and I think that they win by more than 1. And we'll take the 2.5 though, just in case.
Sure, why not? Why not? All right, moving out to the NFC West. Seattle Seahawks have already clinched the division. They are in contention for the number 1 overall. They would need to win. Green Bay and New Orleans would need to lose for that to happen. 49ers, that we're getting 6 here. Now the line is 6.5 right now, so we lose a half-point value taking the 49ers. But I mean, this is more about, again, we could see the Seahawks rest their guys. They haven't played well, on the road. Excuse me. Even though this is just going down to Arizona to play this game in a quote unquote neutral site, 49ers are not laying down, and we saw that a lot last week. And I think that this is something that Robert Saleh is a guy who is auditioning for a lot of head coaching jobs right now. I mean, his defense, with what he's done through the wake of injuries that they've had, I think he's got his team fired up. I think he's got his defense fired up for this one here. Russell Wilson not playing very well right now. I like taking the 49ers and the points here in this divisional game.
Yeah, it's a very odd line. I'm not really sure why the line is climbing. My expectation would be that tomorrow in the afternoon the line will crash some, and Seattle will not dress some players, but maybe there's something going on with San Francisco that I don't know about, because I don't really get why Seattle should be 7-point favorites literally over anyone on the road at this point based on the way that they've played. But nonetheless, I think the 49ers have a great shot to cover in this one, and you have to believe if you're getting less than 7 points that they have a great shot to win. And San Francisco with Beathard plays very competitive. I got to tell you, if it was Mullins, I think that San Francisco could win outright, but I also think they could lose 31-0. With Beathard, I don't think that they have a great shot to win, but he doesn't throw downfield. It's a lot of dink and dunk and conservative passing, and that's very conducive when you're getting points. And I think that the line is sort of indicating the way that the 49ers played under Mullins and not under Beathard. Doesn't make Beathard any better. I thought Mullins was going to be good, by the way. I'm surprised that he didn't turn out to be that good. But Beathard is just a very conservative guy who doesn't take deep shots. And again, Seattle benches guys in the second half, Howard, and we're getting points. That's the way you want to be. And so I think there's a good shot for San Francisco to cover.
Good shot for San Francisco to cover. Good shot for San Francisco to trade up for that first number 2 pick with the Jets. and get themselves Fields,
You
right?
like
Throw
him
a
now,
little,
huh?
what?
You like Fields?
No, I don't. I just, you know what? I just think Garoppolo is overrated and has been overrated. I think that Beathard and Mullins are useless, and I think San Francisco needs a quarterback desperately.
Yeah, no, I think Stafford or Wentz or I don't think
Wentz.
I agree with you.
Really? You're gonna say Wentz?
I think they're going to go with an established guy. They have a team that was off a Super Bowl. I don't think that they're getting a young guy to kind of start over. In my opinion, I think that they'll go with somebody. Atlanta lets go of Matt Ryan. Shanahan's there. I don't. My prediction is it's a veteran that's brought in and not a
All
rookie.
right. Okay. We'll see how that
Just an
turns out.
opinion.
So, all right. So 4 picks in right now. We've got Browns -9, Panthers +6.5. We've got Dolphins +2.5. We've got 49ers +6. Last game here, we're actually going on to the favorite side, and a team that I never thought that we would actually end up taking as a favorite, and that is the Arizona Cardinals against the Rams. Cardinals are giving 2.5. We're laying 2.5 on this one here. Now it's John Walford. There's no Cooper Kupp. They might get Cam Akers back. Who knows? But there's a lot of fight for the playoffs here for both teams. But I mean, Arizona, they've got a more direct shot. They need they need the win. Well, both teams need the win to get in, but I think Arizona can get it with a win or a tie. The Rams just need that win.
Yeah, I assume Murray is playing. That's the reason why
Correct.
Right, and so that's enough for me. I mean, it's just basically going with one established quarterback who I think most people feel is pretty good versus a guy who's never played. That's not to say the guy who's never played can't do well, but I'll bet against that. And I also think that this is another line that's going to move up a lot. It's already swung about 3 points. I mean, this opened up with Rams as a favorite, and now the Cardinals are favorite. And I think that once Murray is officially in on Sunday, I think the line will go to 4.5. But I suppose there is still some doubt that he may not play. If he doesn't play, this is definitely a bad pick for us. There's no doubt. If something happens
well, I
on
mean,
Sunday,
they've said he's playing.
okay, yeah. If that was
yeah.
not to happen, this line would flip back the other way because that's what Murray's really worth in this case. But I'm not a Cardinals fan. I think they played way down. I think they should have had 10 wins this season. I know that they got that Hail Mary in that one game, but for me, the talent is much better than the indication. I think the Rams are definitely the better team, but they are playing so far undermanned now with their best quarterback and their best receiver, arguably. Can't do it. I gotta believe the Rams can get this one done. Not my favorite pick of the 5, but certainly one of the 5 for sure.
Okay, let me see if I can guess what your 6th pick is.
Sure. I actually changed my mind on one, which would be my 6th. But go ahead.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say the Lions +6.5 now that Matt Stafford's playing.
You know what? I thought about that one. It's not my 6th favorite. Okay. Because of what Detroit did the week before. I just feel like that may not matter with him in there. They may have just quit. I'm still, you're right, and the line does give value there, but I kind of know what I'm going to get from Minnesota, and I don't know with Detroit based on the way they played against, was it Tampa Bay? Saturday? Yeah. So I'm a little concerned that it could be a repeat of that, and I don't want to go down that road and we lose like 41-0. The game that definitely changed for me as the week went on was Washington. I didn't think that I would like them, but I was stunned to see all the Eagles players not playing on Sunday night. That's a massive list of players. The line moved 3 points. Yeah. So I do like Washington a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Eagles win. And the other part of this, too, is that it definitely seems like Alex Smith is a 50-50 proposition here, even with them laying 4. Now, -4 tells you right now that there's a chance Alex Smith plays, but I think that the line is telling you more of the Eagles are going to be missing more starters than anybody in the NFL this week. I could not believe that list, Howard, of the running back and the tight end and 2 defensive players. I mean, I don't know, but they still have Jalen Hurts, and they still have some firepower, I suppose. And the line for us is only minus what, 1.5, something like that.
So it's 2.5.
2.5. So anyway, I do like Washington a little bit more, not enough because again, I don't want to get hurt 6 o'clock Sunday night and then hear that Heineke's playing and go, oh, like we could have easily avoided that, and Heineke doesn't play well, and it's a joke, like I don't want to go down that road. But with the more players I've seen out for Philadelphia, I will say that it does seem like the Eagles, for whatever reason, have decided to pack it in.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they're the only team in the NFC East who doesn't have a shot to win it all. So, I mean, it makes zero sense. I mean, Doug Peterson is of that mindset, and you can tell who the building blocks are for next year. That he just wants to make sure stay completely healthy. So, all right, that's where we've got it right now. So we've got our 5 picks. Your 6th was possibly Washington.
Yeah, we can go a couple more if you like. I like Baltimore laying 14 at Cincinnati. I'm not really, I'm not worried about that one. I'm a little worried about Indianapolis covering the line against Jacksonville a little bit more than I am with Baltimore, just because the Jaguars are just kind of strange now, and they're playing a little with house money. They can still lose and have that number 1 pick. There's no pressure there. Packers, Bears, Howard, do you have any feeling on this whatsoever? I don't have any feeling. Green Bay at Chicago -4. I feel like that's a great line. Like it's right there for me.
I mean, it's 5.5 on the Westgate, so I might have, because of that value, might have leaned Bears. But again, this is this to me is Aaron Rodgers doing some final padding with his stats. He's got, they can get that number 1 seed. They can get the bye week all locked up, home field advantage. Green Bay's huge with that. Even though we're talking about no fans here, you're still looking at, the cold tundra of Lambeau Field.
Right.
Not to mention the fact that, I mean, come on, Aaron Rodgers wants to throw for at least 3 or 4 more touchdowns and another 300 yards just so he can turn around and say, you didn't bring me any help whatsoever. This is what I did for you. You're welcome, Green Bay. Here you go, NFL. Thank you for my MVP.
Yeah, and again, the line did change quite a bit. 1.5 is a big number, but Bears' quality of opponents hasn't been fantastic in those games that they've won. So I'm not really buying. Yeah, I'm not really buying anything that they have done, but they could certainly cover at home. I could see that. That's not unreasonable. Chargers at the Chiefs. I mean, they're making the Chargers a 4.5-point favorite here. I guess Kansas City literally must be sitting every single player. It's got to be this way. And more stunningly, Howard, the total is 43.5 in this game. It just tells you Kansas City has basically decided no one is playing this week. And Andy Reid is really good off a bye, so I guess whatever,
Well, he's always been that guy who always sits his starters. Now, he hasn't given announcements, though. I mean, I know Lev Bell is questionable, and he's already said that Mahomes is going to sit, but he hasn't said a word. I know Tyreek Hill is out because of his hamstring. Travis Kelce could be making an appearance in this game. And, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, you'll still see these guys floating around. I think a little bit, not too crazy. They did just promote Garrick Dieter from the practice squad. There's a big favorite of John Impemba's.
Okay.
John's producing the show today, so we got to give a little shout out there. It's actually one of our producer from Sirius XM, Sandro Anello. Was touting Garrick Dieter, and John and I just kind of crapped all over it, being like, the dude's on the practice squad. He got promoted. What are you going to do? I don't see any, this is a game where I wouldn't want to touch it. I couldn't care less about the Chiefs. We know what the Chargers are like as a favorite. Maybe Justin Herbert wants to pad that rookie record of touchdown passes, but yeah, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs could lose and still cover in this game. I don't know. I could not lay these points with the Chargers, even though it is a basically faceless Kansas City team.
Yeah.
Raiders, Broncos. If
you
want to get the coin, you want to get the coin out and flip it.
Nope. This is because you know what? Every time I flip this coin is wrong.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders. I just would have to take Denver because the Raiders have just literally had the most disappointing month again of any team in the NFL. I mean, is the Raiders' only win in the last 5 games that pass against the Jets? That's it. I mean, gosh, 2 years.
Anybody out there who's been tailing me for a number of years knows Raiders Broncos. This is a series I never touch. It never works out for me. I don't do it in survivor pools anymore. I don't do it in betting anymore. So if you have a lean on any way in this game, that's all you.
I don't. So that's it for the NFL. Just some quick thoughts, Howard. Any thoughts on the two college games yesterday? I know that Notre Dame got in the back door there at the end, but they got dominated by Alabama, and Ohio State played fantastic. And I'm not taking anything away from them, but certainly Clemson's defense this year was not nearly as good as it has been in years past. Remember, they gave up 40 to Notre Dame and then another 50 to Ohio State, but they're going to play on the 11th. So when we come back next week, we'll talk about that. But the line is out, and Alabama's -8.5 against Ohio State, and the total is 76.
Yes.
So I would assume we'll have a fun game there. The line opened up Alabama -7, and I suppose when we come back next week, what I want to go through is Alabama's championship and bowl game recent history with Nick Saban, which is going to be very surprising for some people because he's won a lot of them, but not covered in all of them. Like there's been closer games for him in some of these too. So we'll go through that. I hope Ohio State can make a game out of it, but I really am not going to get too caught up. Although they do deserve a ton of credit for beating Clemson, make no mistake about it.
Really, they came out and punched Clemson in the mouth.
They just crushed them. Yeah. But again, the defense of Clemson had a lot of holes this year. They lost a lot of guys to the NFL. And I remember at halftime looking at it and thinking it was over, not because they were down 21, Clemson, but just because I thought they'd score 21 more points, but I thought that Ohio State would probably score 21 more points.
Yeah, they're just not holding them at all. That was the big problem.
Oh, so bad. So yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're going to bet Alabama, you probably need to do it now because it's going to probably go higher. But it's not, Saban's teams don't always cover in the big game in the championship, and they've had their issues in the past too. Remember, they lost to Clemson. So should be an entertaining game though, Howard. I do think the two best teams in college football got there. I don't think the best four teams were in the playoff, but I definitely think the best two teams are left.
No, I think we all pretty much knew that Notre Dame had no business being in there, but I mean, you want to talk about, ratings, betting, everything like that, the Notre Dame, the Dallas Cowboys, these are the teams everybody loves to see and everybody loves to bet on. So
that's right. Exactly.
They went with that as opposed to the relative unknown in Cincinnati, or who's the other team that was
tonight. I mean, what's going to happen is, let's say hypothetically Alabama beats Ohio State, or you could even flip it. It doesn't make a difference. Those two teams are probably going to finish 1-2 at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And Howard, I believe Clemson probably will still finish 3 or 4. But if Texas A&M wins tonight, they're playing North Carolina. It's 7-3 Texas A&M. But if A&M wins, they are going to finish in the AP top 4. And it just shows you that the teams that are in the playoffs don't always make it in the end. I would guess Notre Dame will finish 5 or 6, but A&M will jump Notre Dame at least in the rankings in the end. If they win.
If they win, they got to do it. All right. Well, Craig and I are going to go back to that game. In the meantime, big thank you to John and Pemba for producing. We are, just so you guys know, we're going to continue these live streams throughout the playoffs for the NFL, and then we're going to drift in towards once baseball gets started up, we can start looking at some futures there. The live streams will be on Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on wageralarm.com. You can also catch it on fantasyalarm.com, YouTube, Periscope, everywhere that we're broadcasting there. So next week, wild card round plus the national championship.
Yeah.
Friday night, 8:30. Craig Mish, Howard Bender, Wager Alarm. We'll catch you next time.